Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Catch That. I am Naturally Elise, and that is my brother.
JR.
And we are the R&B representatives. And today we are very excited to bring back a very, very dope brother, music mind like no other. And I really love it so much. And that is the good brother, Matthew Allen. Hey.
Hey guys, thank you very much for having me back. This is I love this show. I love being here. Thank you very much.
Yes. So, how about Mr. JR tell us
Mm.
what we're going to be talking about today and why he thinks it's important?
Okay, so today, y'all, we will be discussing Earth, Wind, and Fire's All in All. Um, Nobody's picked the Earth, Wind, and Fire song. Nobody has picked the Earth, Wind, and Fire album. So this is very exciting to me. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw that Matthew picked this album, I was like, I should have knew because he wants to get physical anyway, catch it. And so I knew. I was like, yo, when he picked this, I was like, at least he picked this album. And she was like, yeah, I know, I saw it. Like, I was like so hyped for it because again, nobody has came on the show and talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I'm really excited to get into this album. We're gonna get into all the songs. It ain't that long, y'all. Y'all got what? This album is like 38 minutes for real, and that's it. So, but it's a
38,
lot
42,
that goes
something like that.
into it. It's a lot that goes into this album. So we're gonna get into it and all. But since nobody has talked about Earth, Wind, and Fire on the show, and I'm gonna ask each of us, how did we get introduced to Earth, Wind, and Fire? And Matthew, I'm gonna start with you. How did you get introduced to Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Well, before I start, I just want to say I was equally as shocked when I signed up to do this as like because I was going through all your episodes, like nobody picked a single album by them. I'm like, oh, it's a wrap. Okay, I'm starting out with a bang. I'm gonna start out with a bang. Um, so how I got introduced to Earth, Wind, and Fire. So my
Yes.
father used to make mixtapes. You know, if you guys know TDKs and Maxwell's and all that stuff, all those old tapes you can record music onto. So he made a mixtape of all his favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire songs. He basically would just take a block of songs and then like in the same sequence and put it on an album and then just do another block of songs and put it on it back to back to back to back. So I used to love listening to, Gratitude and listening to Head to the Sky, you know, Last Days and Times and all those songs. And then I gradually started to listen to the albums in full on my own outside of, being in the front seat of my dad's car and the back seat of my dad's car. This particular album, I'm extremely like aware of the first time I heard it. I'm from Syracuse, New York. My grandparents, God rest their souls, they lived in Elmira, New York, which is like 90 minutes south. So every summer we would drive down, and my dad got that tape for I think his birthday or wedding anniversary or something. So he popped that tape in, and then I was just like, oh wow. Then they got to the second song, which I'll talk about in a minute, and I was just like, I almost started to convulse, like because it was so great. So that's how I got introduced to that album, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think is the greatest American band in music history. They literally can do everything and do everything at a high level.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, how did I get introduced to Earth, Wind, and Fire? It's crazy because my Uncle Bernard is an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan. Like, that's how I knew of them. But my grandparents and my mom wasn't really in the Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love when my mother, when the Earth, Wind, and Fire come on, she'll be like, oh, yeah, that's your Uncle Bernard's era. And I'll be like, what? And she was like, that was just his era. I didn't really get into it. So again, my mom and my grandparents didn't play it when we would be around the house like that. But again, I knew all of their hits. Keep your head to the sky, shining star, top of the world. Not top of the world. That's the way.
That's the way of the world.
That's the
Of the
way of the
world.
world. Thank you. Get away, which is my favorite song.
Love it. Love
Mighty
it.
Mighty, Devotion, all of that. So I knew that, and I did a video maybe in 2016. I did a video on my top 7 bands of all time, right? And they are part of it, but I've never listened to an album from them before. I knew all of the greatest hits, but I never listened to an album before, right? So I just knew everybody would talk about Maurice Starr and how much of a genius he was. Maurice Starr. Oh God, Maurice White. Come on, JR, get it together.
We knew what you were saying. Don't
Maurice
worry about it.
White.
We knew you'd find it eventually.
Yeah, so Maurice White, everybody would say how much of a genius he was. And then I knew he worked with the emotions and all that. But again, I never listened to an Earth, Wind, and Fire album. So finally, I was talking to our brother Sin, and he was like, yo, he was talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire because he loves Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think it's his favorite group. And he was like, yo, do you know this song and know this song? And then after a while, I was like, bro, I never listened to a Earth, Wind, and Fire album before. He said, excuse me, you did what? I was like, I never listened to a full Earth, Wind, and Fire album before. He said, we're going to stop this right now. He said, we're going to stop this. He said, today, you are going to start with their catalog and you're going to start from the beginning and you're going to go all the way. And that was like maybe 4.5 years ago. And ever since then, I've lived with these albums for 4 years. And I said, what in the hell was I waiting for? Like, these albums are just music to me. Like, they are so amazing to me. So it's just like for you to pick this album and for us to really talk about it, I was like, wow, I actually live with albums, people. Unlike today, y'all don't live with them. Yeah,
Mhm.
you know I
Speak
had to
on it.
do it.
Speak
I
on it.
had to do it. People don't live with them. So I lived with these albums for like 4 years,
Mhm.
and I just love them. So my really introduction is my uncle, but really I gotta thank my our brother Sin for real for him making me go into their catalog, and I've been a fan ever since. I've been really into their albums ever since. So that's how I was really introduced to them. So
Yeah, so I just don't really know a world where Earth, Wind, and Fire wasn't in the midst of it, especially with my family. Like Earth, Wind, everybody loved Earth, Wind, and Fire, so that was always a thing going on. My mom had the records, so what made me go to the records is all the interesting, weird covers because that's how I got into my one of my favorite bands, the New Birth, off the strength of the album covers. I was curious, like, ooh, this is weird. Um, so I actually had listened to the albums just my whole life. But I could see how people wouldn't listen to the albums because the amount of hits and radio singles they had, you couldn't escape that. And it was just so many. So, when you could say, well, I don't really know Earth, Wind& Fire, but you can name 10 songs. Just like JR did with me with Sade. And I
oh
start
boy,
naming songs. I never letting that go, just so you know.
oh
Um,
god.
and I start naming songs. Oh yeah, I know that one. I know. Ooh, I love that one. I like. Ooh, ooh. I was like, boy. So anyway,
It's
Never,
funny.
you're never gonna let me live that down, are you? Oh,
You know
thanks.
what's
I
funny?
appreciate it.
The Earth, Wind, and Fire's one of their biggest selling albums is their greatest hits package. So they,
Really?
yeah, so they had a run from 1975 to about 1979 where they
Mm-hmm.
had consecutive double platinum albums. That's the Way of the World, Gratitude, Spirit, All in All, and I Am. And right in between All in All and I Am is the Best of Earth, Wind, and Fire Volume 1. And that sold like
mm,
2 million copies, almost 3 million copies,
Mm-hmm.
just off the strength of the song September, which was a brand new song that they added to that, and which is one of the reasons why it was sold so much. But that had songs like Getaway on it, like you said. That's the first time I heard Getaway was on the best of tape. It was a
Okay.
tape I heard because my sister had Columbia House. Shout out to my sister Tiffany.
The 12 for 1 penny. Come on,
Yeah,
nobody.
exactly. So that's the first time I heard Getaway, first time I heard September. Also, they had two other brand new songs on it, Love Music and their cover of the Beatles' Got to Get You in My Life from the Sergeant
Mm-hmm.
Pepper movie was
Yeah.
on there too. And
mhm.
so, that's the entry point for a lot of people is greatest hits packages, and it's always great when they do greatest hits compilations and there's new material on it, because that's
Mm-hmm.
really the only way that you can get me to get one of those things, like Lenny Kravitz, his biggest album of all time is his greatest hits album.
When I found out about that, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like his
Yep.
greatest hits is his biggest selling album. Ain't that like the Eagles too? Ain't
Yeah,
that been them?
The Eagles Volume One is not only their biggest selling album, it's technically the biggest selling album in
Yes.
American history, even
Mhm.
though it's a compilation. So they always like to say, well, it's more than Thriller. I was like, stop being a racist. It's just
Yeah. So okay, so we get to about 1976, right? Because I think their run, like you said, started in like
sorry,
75.
75. Well, their first platinum album was Open Our Eyes with
Oh,
Devotion
right.
and All in All. It's also Devotion and Mighty Mighty. And then
Yeah.
That's Where the World is their first double platinum album, all the way to that's 75, all the way to I Am, which is 79. They do their double album, which only went gold, Faces, and then they come back with Raise, which has its groove on it. Wanna
Yes.
Be With You, which won them a Grammy, and then that
Yeah.
got back to double platinum status.
Gotcha. So it's the 76 album is the Spirit album, which is actually my favorite, which
Yeah.
got Getaway on it, on Your
On Your
Face,
Face, yep.
Saturday Night. Like oh God, and I love how many people use that sample of get on your
On
I
Your
love
Face.
that sample of on your fire. I love that sample.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. So yeah, so they started making that album, and didn't Charles Stephanie died during the
Yeah.
making of that album.
Literally, like just
So,
over halfway through that album,
mm,
Charles Stephanie passed away of a heart attack. Like they literally, Larry Dunn, the keyboardist for Earth, Wind, and Fire, said
yes,
they were actually laying down the basic track for the title cut before the lyrics were even finished, and they got the phone call that he had passed away, which Maurice ended up writing the lyrics of Spirit on top of Larry's music, and then Philip sang the song, and that was a tribute to Charles. But yeah, he was like their Quincy Jones, he was their George Martin. It was a brief moment between Open Our Eyes to Spirit that he was there, but he really got them together from being a band that sort of just got off on their went by their wits and their instincts to having a lot of structure and
yes,
having a more symphonic range,
Mhm.
which led, beyond that point.
because he came in with Open Your Eyes, right?
Yeah, Open Your Eyes is when he came into the fold to be like their arranger.
Mhm.
What was it? Jim Wissett. He
Yes,
was their
Wizard, or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He was the producer from the two albums before, which was Last Days in Time
yeah. Hmm.
and Head to the Sky. Then
Yes.
Charles came on as an arranger on Open Our Eyes, and he really kind of took over. And then That's Where the World is the first album that he formally produced for them with Maurice, and then Gratitude, and then Half of Spirit.
Okay, okay. So, and then I know that hit Maurice kind of hard for real, because didn't he ended up going to Argentina and Brazil, and he was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I need to get myself together for real.
yeah.
Like,
And you can hear it all up and through.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Distinctly,
Lots of lots of South
Um,
American
yeah,
influences throughout the today's album.
yeah.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Just giving y'all a little background of what we get into so we can get into it. Let's start with
Yes.
17.5. Let's start with that, right? Right, right. Like, they started off the break. Like, this song is a damn groove, yo. Like, just off the break. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like, it's just like,
Hmm.
I was like, they started the song not playing. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I loved about Earth, Wind, and Fire. They first song, they were playing no games. Just like with Spirit, Get Away was your first joint. And they
Hmm.
hit you over the head, and then they hit you over your head with this. Like, the horns is wailing, everything is doing what it needs to do on this song. And I just love the fact how Maurice will bring spirituality in a record.
Hmm.
It's like we're grooving and we're partying and we're dancing to it, but there's a message in it. And you know what I'm saying? And that's what I really like, and how obviously his trip to Brazil actually helped with these lyrics for real, because he's talking about like um how you can kind of turn how your creative energy can turn into something positive for real. And something dealing with the spine, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really that strong on it, but I know we have the journalists on here. So I already know that Matthew knows a lot about this. So
It's
I
about to be
said,
real. It's about to be real interesting or disappointing depending on your own point of view. According to Philip Bailey,
okay,
Serpentine. According to Philip Bailey, as far as he
okay,
knew,
okay.
Serpentine Fire was a reference to Maurice White's penis. So the Serpentine Fire is about sexual libido, according to Philip Bailey.
Really?
Yes. Think about
Block,
Wow, I
think
never
about the
knew
lyrics.
that.
the
Think about
block
the
is
lyrics.
hot.
Wow.
As long as you're near, there's no fear of a victory. But when I'm away, influence straight, when he says, I want to see your face in the morning sun and night my energy, the cause and effect of you brought new meaning in my life to me. I'm gonna tell a story, all your glory, all about the serpentine fire. What does serpentine, a snake, you know,
Right.
my anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun.
And it's burn it up.
So yeah,
I
Serpentine Fire is about sexual conquest or sexual gratification, according to Philip Bailey. At least
wow.
that's his personal understanding.
Well, that
Cause
well
I
person
know.
well
Yeah, go ahead, sis. I'm
personally
sorry.
personally that kind of make me like it even more. I, hey, I am what I am.
I love sex positive over these parts, so I get it. I get it. But I thought he was really talking about something like with the spine, and it could, you got fluid in your spine that can convert to like good energy and all of this kind of stuff. That's what I thought. And
I
they
mean,
were saying, and Maurice was saying he would bring some of this stuff to the guys, and a lot of them didn't know what the hell it was, and he wouldn't tell them. He'd
I
be
think
like,
that's probably what led to Philip coming to his own conclusion
I got it.
because
I got it.
when he's been asked on numerous occasions and he even wrote about it, it's like I think it's just a sexual thing. So if you're gonna go off of anything, you might as well go off of the right hand man of Maurice White,
That's
say
true.
okay. But like you said, at least it actually makes it a little bit more interesting because Maurice White, known for being this ultra spiritual guy, or as he said
Yes.
in It's All About Love, we deal with a lot of cults, sciences, and astrology and mysticism and world religion. It's actually kind of refreshing that he can be a little bit more simplistic and a little bit more human, when he's talking about, the act of getting his freak on.
Yeah. I, I like both because I like all that woo woo shit because that's my life. But I like all that sexual shit. So it's and things rarely as we learn, talking about D'Angelo, things mean one thing on the surface and something totally different if you go
Very
just down
true.
one layer, just one layer. So
That's true. That's true.
Mm.
I just like this song again for the horns of it all. Like I like this. This was one of the songs that I was telling bro I would have loved to be in the studio to make, just to see how they were arranging this, like all of that, and then Verdine on the bass line. Like it was just everything was just perfect about this record to me. Like this, and I'm not big on singles. Elise knows that I'm not the biggest on like singles and
Mhm.
talking about singles. But this, I was like, this could get no perfect to me. I always be like, yo, this is music to me. And then
Mm.
now to know that this song was about sex, it makes it even better for me. So
Earth, Wind,
I'm
and
like,
Fire.
this,
Let me tell you something. I
yeah,
Earth, Wind, and Fire to me is the greatest band of all time. At the very least, they're the greatest American band of the 20th century. But one thing they are definitely the goats of, and that's album openers.
yes,
Talked about like
yes,
just let's just talk about their classic run. of
Right.
album
Mhm.
openers.
Yep.
You have, and we can start with Open Our Eyes if you want to. Open Our
Okay.
Eyes starts with Mighty Mighty,
Yep.
hits hard,
Mm.
hard, hard, hard. Then you have That's the Way of the World, Shining Star, the
Shining
first
Shining
Star.
Star.
Yep.
hit,
Yep.
it's hard.
Yep.
Even Gratitude. Gratitude starts with that, you know, live album that starts with the presenting Earth, Wind, and Fire,
Yeah.
right into that explosive instrumental. Spirit starts with Getaway, one of my favorite songs. All in all, starts with Serpentine Fire. You know, even Best of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Volume 1 starts with Got to Get to You in My Life. It starts with those horns. I
Yep.
Am starts with their best and the best
In
album
the
of all
stone.
time, In the Stone. The
In the
greatest
stone.
album opener of all time, except for
Yes.
maybe Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, or So What by
Ooh.
Miles Davis. I think those are the three best album openers ever in terms of Black
Man.
music. In the Stone, So What, and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Those are the three best. But Earth, Wind, and Fire consistently were giving you amazing album openers, even into
Mhm.
Raise. Let's Groove is the first song on Raise. It's just they were better than anybody at that.
I
Mhm.
think Maurice knew as a producer, it's like he knew, like, I want to get you right in the beginning. Like, I don't want to start, I want to get you grooving right in the beginning. Like, I want to hit you hard. Cause it's like you gotta open the album right. You know what I mean? Cause it really depends. Cause if you look up and open with a horrible song in the beginning, it's gonna make the album it's gonna make the album suck to me. I think
Exactly.
you have to open this album right. And for him to open up with Team Fire, I was like, okay, all right. Let like again, it wherever you take it, because it's music, so you can go whatever
Anything
you
you can
feel
do.
like it is. Whatever you feel like it is to you is what it is to you. You know what I mean? Now I'm learning again. I tried to be all spiritual with the joint, like, oh, it means about energy and da 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 da. But clearly,
That's
Matthew said, huh?
well, that's what sex is about, energy and all that. Like I said, potato, potato. It's
I like how you did that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for thank you for letting it come together.
it
Yeah.
all
But
matters.
yeah.
It all matters.
And it's
Yes.
such a it's such a weird like and like I talked about all those album openers, it's such a weird time signature for them. Like it's
Mhm.
definitely like one of the strangest, like it definitely sticks out in terms of the rhythm arrangement compared to all of the other album openers. You
It
know,
does.
it
Hmm.
really sets off like, okay, this album is gonna be deep in like this sort of South American sort of bag. I mean, That's the Way of the World sort of teased it because the title track of That's the Way of the World is very Latin tinged, especially if you listen to the demo. So I'm so glad that they started to go in this direction with this album, but particularly starting with this song, which once again, those damn Earth, Wind, and Fire horns, man. Shout out to the late great Don Myrick, Lulu Satterfield,
Lulu Satterfield, yes.
Michael Harris, the late great Andrew Woolfolk. Those guys were just the absolute best. I think they're the best horn section of all time. If you want to say Tower of Power, fine. If you want to say Chicago, fine. I think Earth, Wind, and Fire has a case to be the best. Or Sea Wind Horns. Shout out to Jerry Hay, who actually did the arrangement
Yes.
for Stone. Um,
Yep.
but I think that the Phoenix horns are the best.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree. I agree. And then for it to now, I think because this is such a lighter album than Spirit was, because
Yeah.
we know what Spirit was coming off of with Charles passing and all of that and them dealing with that. So it was a little bit on the dark side. Maybe that's why it's a favorite for me. But but it's like this album is it's bright for real. Like it
It really
opens up
is.
so bright like this. So it's like, okay, we know what we're getting at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's such a feel good song. I mean, even down to how with the song it closes with, like it is a feel good record. Like it's a record I wish was longer. I hate that it's 38 minutes. Like I want more. I mean, I
Yeah.
could run it back, but I just want more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's such a good album. Such so good. Okay, we get into fantasy.
Okay. This is my favorite song of all time.
Woo!
My
Ooh.
number one favorite song in my life. Like,
Wow.
like,
Okay.
like I told you about like being in the car when my dad was playing the tape. So I
Yeah.
can literally tell you exactly. I was in the back seat with my brother and my sister, and my mom was in the passenger seat when this song came on after Serpentine Fire. I told you about having like convulsions. Like I literally was like hyperventilating inside because the song was so like I was like, oh my goodness. And then the double harmonies that Philip does, take a ride in the sky, and then and we will live together. Oh, I can't even. This is the greatest song I've ever heard in my whole life. Like I just wanted to just get that out of the way. I'll just get that out of the way.
Wow.
Mm. Like, bet nobody talk bad about no fantasy, not around here. Mm.
Okay.
Ain't nothing
Okay.
bad about Miss
I
Jenkins.
just had to, I'll come back to it. I'll let you guys say what you have to say, but
Yes, because
I
we
just
know
had to
this is
get
your
that
favorite
out
song.
of me. It's my favorite song ever.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, because we're gonna let Matthew get it in. He's gonna get it after we in. So for me, I heard this song, but y'all know I really got really into this song when Martha Wash did it with um
TNT
what's the
Music
Black
Factory.
Box. Black Box. Yes, when they
Black
did it
Box,
with that.
the other group
Yes.
that stole her voice.
The
Right
soul,
at
yeah.
that part. So,
Mhm.
like Whitney said, it wasn't that dark skinned child that was singing on that record. It wasn't her. That was Martha. Okay. Okay. So when I was listening to this, going through the catalog things to sin again, and I was going through and I was listening, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, hold up. I know this song. I was like, I know this. I was like, bro, did Martha Wash do this? And he was like, yeah, but he was like, this is the original version. I was like, oh, okay. And I just like it lyrically. This song lyrically is just amazing because it's like take a ride in the sky on our ship, fantasize. All your dreams will come true miles away. Yes. And then we will all live together as one. You know what I'm saying? And it's like this song to me is like living in a world that's so positive and free for real, and you don't have anything to worry about. And it's like, and just Philip's voice on this, and I love him on the last like freaking what 50 seconds. It like sends chills through you because it's like it's his spirit is in it, and you can tell he's just in it, and he's just vocalizing and just doing what he do, and that can tell it's the feeling. He's feeling this record, and he's understanding what it means. You know what I mean? So, and it's so crazy because I found out with some research when he recorded it, he had a busted lip in it because he was playing ball or whatever, and he came in and vocally. So I'm like, with a busted lip like that, you got people that can't sing like that now. But
No, but yeah, but the part of this song that like sinks into my soul, besides all of those obviously wonderful, wonderful things, is that
mm,
oh, it just makes like it makes Matthew like it gives me tingles every time. I'm just like, you
and
know,
and then in that last
such a
50
such
seconds,
a groove.
I always think of that last 50 seconds of me thinking of how Philip was going off at the end of Imagination for me. Like how he was really just just giving us vocals, and he's one of the best when it comes to falsetto. Ain't nobody playing
Oh
with
yeah,
Philip when it comes to that at
no,
all.
If
And
Imagination was the only song Philip Bailey ever sung, and that would cement his place as the greatest falsetto singer of all time.
yeah.
That's his
period.
best recording as a vocalist ever is that song. And yeah, he's number one when it comes to falsetto. He's better than Eddie Kendricks, Russell Tompkins, all those guys. Philip to me is the best. I look,
I
you,
agree.
yeah.
No, I agree. But
It's the
I
range.
agree.
I know you
It's
was
the
gonna throw
range.
It
Eddie
just
in
hit.
there, but
Because
I
I know
agree.
it just hit.
because
It hit
yeah.
saying it out loud. You like Eddie Kendricks. Oh, it just.
Yes.
It
Oh,
was.
Yeah,
but we
I
gotta.
know, I know that was tough because Eddie Kendrick is very, very is iconic. He really is.
Right. Right.
But it's the
Right.
range. Like Eddie Kendricks was great in that pocket of Temptation
Yes.
songs and Motown tracks he did as a solo artist. Philip
Yes.
Bailey could literally sing. I mean, he was brought up as an opera singer. Like that's what he studied when he was in college. And
Yeah.
then after Earth, Wind, and Fire, he went on to have a Grammy-winning solo career as a gospel singer. He could literally sing anything. You never got to hear Eddie Kendricks sing in a different type of bag. You got to hear Philip sing in all different types of uh, arrangements and genres and styles within Earth, Wind, and Fire alone, let alone prior to and after, going solo.
I, and and then I just love because this song and the words, like I said, lyrically, is relevant today.
Yeah.
Because I damn sure would like to live in a fantasy world that's positive and free. Because what we dealing with now, and in a couple,
Mhm.
in 2, 3 months,
Man,
I want to live in a fantasy.
the first time I heard it, it was lyrics I never heard. When he said,
Mhm.
"And we will live together until the 12th of
The
never."
12th of them.
I was like, "What?" That was when Maurice White passed away. That was
Mhm.
the title of the obit that I submitted to Ebony magazine was the 12th of never because um that's the first thing I thought of was that song and that lyric and understanding I'd never heard that phrase before. So
Mhm.
that just like jumped out to me. And it's just the way they sing it. And we will live together until the 12th of never. It was just so like soul cleansing to me. Like it really was.
Mhm.
And the,
Mhm.
as one and then bam, doom,
Mhm.
boom. Like there's so many. The great thing about this song, so Verdine explained in the liner notes of the Eternal Dance box set that all in all was their most difficult album to make because it was it was that point where they were doing a lot of improvising up to that point in terms of their songwriting. But once they got to all in all, it was like half improvising and half like super being more structured. So they're trying to marry those two, and that's what made the album so difficult, especially because Charles had passed away. So now Maurice is fully in the driver's seat. So with Fantasy, it's the arrangement is so intricate. It's literally like it reminds me of us like Ride On for the Darkness by Curtis Mayfield, where you like
Oh no!
there's
Yes,
there's literally no room for any like spaces of air that
at
has no
all.
music. There's literally something like when the bass goes doom and there's a note that comes right behind that's a string, and then there's a French horn that's right behind that, and all the while the guitar is going like this. Like there's literally no place to have no any dead air. And it's so immaculately arranged in terms of the
Mhm.
horns, in terms of the strings, in terms of just the scratching guitars of Al McKay and Johnny Graham. It's just the way, just do 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 do, and then Maurice's
Mhm.
boom, boom, boom. It's so excellent. And then the other underrated thing is the fact that the harmonies, the stacked harmonies, the fact that it's just Maurice and just Philip, and that's it, and they just overdub it,
Oh,
and the fact that Maurice is actually singing as high as Philip is singing in his falsetto
mm-hmm.
range, it's so uncanny. It literally blows my mind how like when you go back to like the outro of Shining Star, that shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. It sounds like there's like 4 or 5 people, but it's just the two of them, just doubling and tripling and all that stuff. And with Fantasy, like come to sing da-da-da, victory da-da-da, in a
Yeah.
land on fantasy. There's like 4 or 5 different harmony parts, and
Yeah.
it's just so immaculately arranged and it's so intricate and textured. I can't get
Yeah.
enough. And then melodically, it's just so strong. You hear a lot of songs that have a lot of complex melodies and complex arrangements, but
Hmm.
you have to be melodically strong to really catch me. And there's so many strong melodic points in this song that grab you. And I love it. I can never listen to this song enough.
Yeah, and those melodic and those shifts makes the song so theatrical. Like it's like I feel like I'm watching a space opera. Like I'm just it's very just all those different movements of the harmonies. It's like
Yeah.
a little play, little
There's no
act
room to
one,
get
act
bored.
two, you know?
Yeah, there's no place to get bored. And that's the thing about Black music from the 1970s. There's a lot of theatrical points in it. There's a lot of wonderful. It's like classical music. There's movements. I always say like a perfect example would be like Stevie Wonder's Superwoman, right? That's like a
Hmm.
three movement song. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hmm.
There's the Superwoman part, there's the Where Were You and I Need You part, and then there's the transition period that connects the two. That
That's
that's
my
like
favorite Stevie song.
that's like a suite. That's like a mini suite within the album itself.
Hmm.
And so with a song like Fantasy, that's what it is. It's just little pockets of things that keep the ear from being bored.
Hmm.
Because there's so much like different like stuff going on. I love how you said it's like the bass comes in, then the harmony. It's like nothing, there's no space for error at all. And they got it all right. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you're coming from Epicene Fire, right? And then you go right into Fantasy. So you're smoothing it down a little bit. But this song is so intricate. It's ridiculous. It's so like again, when you said that there's no room for error at all. And everything is placed the right way. So now when you say, because I never knew that they said this album was so difficult for them to make. I didn't know that at all. I would have never even thought because they make this shit seem so damn easy. You know
They
what I'm
sure do.
saying? So
They
I'm like,
sure.
what? Like this album was hard, but
Hmm.
now with a song like this being so damn intricate, I get it. Because it probably was like, nope, boom, nope. We got 1 second to get to the next. We got 1 second to get to the next. We are not leaving no room. We want everything to shine on this, and it does. And like I said, this song just lyrically just takes me, and then Philip just at the end just going off. I was just like, yeah, he feeling that thing there. So yeah, this is definitely a favorite of mine on the album for real, for real. Again, another single.
Hmm. Yes.
Surprisingly not as successful
Which
as Serpentine Fire.
why? Like I don't under why.
I think it's because it's so intricate. I mean, think about it. Like I think about songs that are like really like difficult or like
Mm-hmm,
for the like I said, it's a lot going on with the song. And if you think of like a lot of pop hits, they're far simpler. They seem simpler, even if they are like complicated with the arrangement. Like I
Hmm.
was listening to "Leave the Door Open" by Silk Sonic in the gym today, and people don't understand how complicated that song is in terms of the chord progressions and the
mm-hmm,
modulations. Same thing with
Hmm.
Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder. There's no earthly reason why Overjoyed should have been a hit on a radio hit because there's so many strange chord progressions and modulations in that song, both on piano and in Stevie's voice, that I'm like, who the hell can even like sing it, let alone listen to it? So
Hmm.
I think that Earth, Wind, and Fire Fantasy, I think that because it's not as like immediately effective as a September, which has a strong earworm of a
right.
chorus or a Boogie Wonderland or something like that, that's a strong earworm of a chorus. I think that because the chorus doesn't come to the very end of the song.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
another.
Yeah, and you know how people are about stuff where it's structured, it's not traditional song structure. People are a little more hesitant to hear it
Yeah.
out, if you will. Yeah.
Frank Ocean said the best song's never the single. So
That's the truth.
even though this is a single, it's just like no, I
Yeah.
understand why it wasn't like a huge hit the way that Serpentine Fire was a huge hit, you know? So, like, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm surprised that this album even sold as well. This is Earth and Fire's biggest selling album. This is like 3.5 million in the United States. So the fact
Okay.
that it didn't have a giant like, and it's bookended by these albums that have these huge hits. And you have Gratitude and Spirit. You know, Gratitude had like Sing a Song, which is a huge hit.
Right.
Um, you know, and Spirit had Saturday Night. And then after this is September, and then Boogie Wonderland, and After Love Is Gone. So the fact that it didn't have any like huge selling or huge charting songs the way that the albums around it did, and the
Hmm.
fact that the album sold as well as it did is a testament to just how great it is as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. All right, so we go to the first interlude in the
Yes.
marketplace. I love this interlude. I love this interlude so much because I feel like you're still daydreaming. You're in the
Mhm.
fantasy. So you're
Mm-hmm.
still daydreaming with this joint. And it's just like everything is just going okay. You know what I mean? This is this type of stuff that made Maurice White a genius. For real.
Mm-hmm.
Just stuff like this. Because the track listen, you go from fantasy, which is the song that it is, right? And it's saying you're going to be in a fantasy in a world that is everything is positive and free and everything. We're going to be together. We're going to live together as one and all of this. And then he go in the marketplace and the music of it all just seems like you're still daydreaming. Like
Yeah.
I'm in this fantasy. I'm there. I'm for like 43 seconds. I'm there. You know what I
And
mean?
then,
So
but then I also think that interlude is like it's so perfect. And I usually don't like interludes, but this
and
is
don't.
if you're gonna do an interlude, this is what you do. It's it's actually giving you a little rest and a little calm cool down because you
Mm-hmm.
got to get right back in the face with the energy of Jupiter. Like that's an energetic
Mhm.
track. So it's just giving you a little rest, little disco nap.
Well, and what I will say, I agree with you, Elise. I usually don't like interludes or skits or anything. Or I don't even like intros. Like if you have like an intro on your album that's like 30 seconds or whatever, I'm like, to it, you know, hawk to it to
Yeah,
that.
that's yeah.
I
We
just
in this we
no,
on the same
no, no,
page,
no.
brother.
Very few exceptions. But Earth, Wind, and Fire, particularly, they're always good for having interludes on their record. Um, Particularly in this era. This is probably the album with their best interludes or use of interludes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the two other ones that come after this, but
Yes.
I think that all the three interludes that are on here are just they are like their own songs. You know what I'm saying? In the marketplace is great because just the title puts me into a place where I'm actually imagining the environment because I understand that the South American influence. I'm imagining being in like a flea market in Brazil or
Yeah.
Argentina or Chile, and there's, you know, people selling things and there's, you know, beads and stuff click clacking and all that stuff. I'm imagining this just from the strength of the title and then
Mhm.
the combination of the guitar and the kalimba together. It just gives me that feeling. It's actually, you talk about it being so a daydream. For me, it actually grounds the album because it puts you in a place that is more familiar and a place that's very like you're familiar with. Like I know about going to marketplaces. I know about going to flea markets and those sort of things.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Yeah.
Matthew,
It
keep
pa-
going. I'm sorry.
yeah, it paints a picture. It's setting the scene. I mean, then you look at the album and he's getting it. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just such a complete work of art. It's not just the
Hmm.
music. It's it's just the whole aesthetic of it. Yeah.
Damn, he said it grounds the album. Yo, I ain't never think about it like that, but it does. After you said it, it kind of brings you back to reality for a second. Like it's like, oh yes, you could be in the flea markets and this, and you know what I'm saying. In Brazil, again, he's bringing that Brazilian influence in there. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it's just, oh, damn. I love when people think about something different than I did and it makes sense. Like, I'm sorry.
And then I think about it's the Brazilian, but Brazil is part of the African diaspora. And so
Yes.
it's that that African feel. It's just
Yeah.
it's, it's so
It's
layered.
just, but this, I mean, even think about like the cover, which is right behind you, at least. Like if you open the gatefold, I mean, the cover of it is Egypt, is ancient Egypt. But if you open it up and look at the back cover, it's the future. Like you see all like
Yes.
in the gatefold, you see all of the things, but if you go to the back, it looks like the Jetsons or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's so that's why it's so important to have those moments because it's like, yes, we're going to take you on this journey where we're going to take you beyond the earth. We're going to take you into the spiritual realm that's within you, that's above us. We're going to take you into a futuristic, like idealistic trip, but we're also going to take you back to the past also and let you know how your ancestry has influenced your present and how it's going to influence the future. So in the marketplace is a great way to keep us grounded in that way, as well as some of the other songs that come in later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. Oh
Yeah.
Lord.
And then now we take off to
My
Jupiter.
favorite song on the album.
This is
That was
a this is a good one. This is one of those.
that
This is another
tracks.
one of those horn songs that just like the horns like drive me insane.
And fucking insane. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Insane. I was like, oh my God, because again, now it was like the other two songs I knew, right?
Mhm.
So I'm listening to this album. It's like, all right, I know Sympathy 5, I know Fantasy. I didn't know In the Marketplace, but when we got to Jupiter, I did not know this song. So I'm in it and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, these horns is I'm like losing my mind right now. And then the bass line of it all was
Mhm.
giving me getaway. I was
Yes.
getting
That
away from the
boom,
bass
that
line.
little thing. That boom.
Yes.
Well, quick side note. So
Yes.
Michael Jackson called Verdine White during the Triumph recordings because he
Mm-hmm.
wanted that little boom, 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 that thing that's in Jupiter and that thing
Mm-hmm.
in Getaway, that little thing that Verdine does, that boom. He
Yes.
wanted that to be he wanted that in Heartbreak Hotel. So he actually called Verdine up to have him come to the session, and Verdine couldn't duplicate it because Verdine is not like thinking about it. He's just doing it from the improvisation. So he couldn't
Yeah.
duplicate it. So Nathan Watts, who's Stevie Wonder's bass player and the bass player on the Destiny album, he ended up coming in and playing, when you hear Hope is Dead, boom.
Oh.
It's Michael
Yes.
telling Nate, do that thing that Verdine does on Jupiter.
Like I was like, oh my! I played the song like 5 times straight. When the first time I heard it, I was losing my mind, and I remember like hitting send, like, why didn't you tell me about this song at first? Like, you know, I love horns like this. Like, why didn't you tell me this? And he was like, I knew you were gonna get there. Like, I knew you were gonna get there, so it's cool. You know what I'm saying? So
It's
it
nice to be
was the
surprised.
yes, and then like the horn break at like 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It's like that horn break that go there, and it's like that doom, and I want to be like, get away! Like I just
Yes.
yes, and I just this song is just everything. And then this song is also about kind of like self love and loving yourself. To be honest with you, because what was the lyric when he said the sign of love I failed my
My
fellow
fellow
man to show. And it's like, yes, you should go out there and just try to be nice to people. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it take to be nice to somebody? You know what I mean? So it's just like, with that and learning all about the self love. And I know when James Brown was hearing this, I know James Brown was like, y'all really doing the damn thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't even compete with y'all. And he probably like, Fred, why can't we play like this? Like, he probably like, Fred, what is going on? Like, they is killing it. You know I was gonna go there on this episode when it comes to them horn at least. You know I was gonna do it. I was going to
No,
Fred.
I just ain't want you to start that Fred shit.
I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna
That's another, but that's another horn section we didn't talk about is the JBs. You know, you got Maceo Parker, Fred Wesley. You know,
Yes.
they were some serious horns too. So
Yeah, they were. They were, but I know,
Huey
because
Ellis.
again, when
Mhm.
everybody is kind of, because me and Elise said this in a couple of episodes and we've done Stevie showed. We was like, Stevie was even listening to what the heck was going on around him. So he probably was sitting there like, damn, that's good. Like, what am I gonna do with this? You know what I'm saying? So I know James Brown and Fred and all of them is sitting around like, who the hell these horn players playing like this? Like, who do they think they are? You know what I'm saying? So yes, this is a favorite of mine. And then to have again Maurice and Phillips harmonies together, like they just
Let me tell you,
they
when it
blend.
gets to the
Oh,
bridge, that keep your eye on Jupiter, such beauty in the sky. When it gets to that
I
part where
wrote
the
that. I
harmonized,
wrote that.
just to you a brighter
Okay,
day and
John.
keep a righteous will. Hey, when they do that harmony part on the righteous will, that's the part I rewind every time. Like I don't even rewind the whole
Every
song. Just
time.
that
Every
section
time.
is every time it's great. And you mentioned Stevie, so Songs of Your Life and Spirit came out within like days of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that yeah, Songs of Your Life and Spirit came out within days of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So CV had disclosed that Pastime Paradise on Songs of Your Life, you know, the Coolio sample,
Yeah.
what the rhythm track was inspired by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Because
Wow.
he said that at the time he said that he liked this Latin rhythm that Earth, Wind, and Fire was doing at that time, which was like that's the way of the world, gratitude, spirit. Well, not spirit, but basically that's the way of the world.
Well,
Like
Mm-hmm.
is that why we got
so,
another star also?
probably,
Could be.
but he definitely mentioned um another star is probably more Sergio Mendes, um but he said specifically Pastime Paradise he was going to go in two directions. He was going to do either the Latin thing that with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And he actually has a version of it that he's on the drums because he was trying to duplicate the Love Unlimited Orchestra in Barry White. And then he decided he liked the Earth, Wind, and Fire vibe more, so he took the drums out, and that's why Pastime Paradise rhythm sounds like that because he was inspired by like that's the way of the world era Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Stevie is
Hmm.
always a student. That guy is always a student. He can't help it. Wow. Did not know that. See, I knew it. I knew it. I knew I was gonna learn so much shit when it came to this. When it come to math. I knew that's why y'all have to watch his joint on Instagram and what is it?
TikTok.
Uh
TikTok.
TikTok, yes. And the Get Physical joint, because you learn some shit. I know I'll probably be one of the first ones to hit your like because I'll be up in there like
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I, yes, of course. But I knew with this. But yeah, Jupiter, I love this record. Like horns is wailing, and this is everything. So I thought Elise, because Elise kind of always knows my song, which is gonna be my favorite. So this is the first album that she's done, and she didn't pick it. The first album she did.
But the one I picked, you said you like second best, so
Yes, it is. It's number two. It is. It is. It is. It is. So okay, so she
you know
wasn't
what?
wrong. It's still a
And you know
favorite.
why? You know why I thought it wasn't gonna be Jupiter?
Why?
Because that was a single. But anyway.
You ain't have to come off and be right, ma'am.
Okay, let's move on now.
Damn, I knew she was gonna go there though, because she know I
Yes.
don't like singles. Like I said in the beginning of the show, I don't
Mm.
really. go for the favorites of singles, but Jupiter was a single.
Sometimes,
But
look, sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they don't get it right. Like I said,
Yeah.
I talk about Michael Jackson all the time. I wish that Liberian Girl was a single on Bad. You know what I'm saying? Lots of songs that I wish were singles on other
Yeah.
people.
hello.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So
now, but then we come to the next song, which is a song that Black people made a single.
Yeah.
mhm. And this is but speaking of Black people, this is one of those occasions where we as a culture will just anoint something a title that it isn't.
Yes.
So so this song is
Come
called
on,
Love Holiday.
LimeWire. Come on.
This song is called Love. Yeah, thank you. See? Exactly. This song is called Love's Holiday, but everybody calls it Would You Mind?
Would you
Yeah.
mind?
Like you go to the LimeWire, to Bear Share, um, to Audio Galaxy,
Yeah.
Napster on down. It was
Ba-
Earth,
ba-
Wind, Fire. Would you mind? All
yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. Bear Share was my drug of choice.
Because LimeWire gave you so many viruses, yo. Oh my God.
I
I
love Bear
ruined so
Share.
many computers with that shit. But this, I knew this song. I did because my uncle loved this record and I would love to hear him sing it. You know what I mean? So I knew it. So when Steve Harvey did it, y'all know on the Kings of Comedy, that
Mm-hmm.
talking ass nigga. Like at the end of the day,
That's
Patooey. Let's give two patooies to Steve Harvey. Okay, go ahead.
the hello, puh. But
You did that
but
like Tupac in the Flyers jersey.
yes,
by the
yes.
by the punch a cameraman. What is going on with you today?
Oh my God. So like I said, I will always love soul. But everybody, when everybody talks about Earth, Wind, and Fire, they always go to Philip's voice. And that's why I'm so happy that Maurice got it in on this one. Like he got it in. And it was like, you can't sleep on his voice either. You know what I'm saying? And clearly him being able to blend with Philip, he can sing too. And with this, he just goes in. Like he goes in. And what I really love about this record is the last 40 seconds of this record with the electric guitar at the end, which inspired one of my favorite bands, which is Mid Condition. And them guys are so influenced by the Earth, Wind, and the Fire. And at least cussed a couple people out during the episode because and she was like, please, everybody's inspired by Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I just love because they gave that rock edge. And that's what Mick Condition do with records like So Fine, Someone to Love, You Send Me Swinging. Like that rock edge is what Earth, Wind, and Fire did at the last 40 seconds of this record. And again, Maurice is going off. He's singing for life. And like y'all said, Black people done made this song. They gave it their own title. Cause I ain't gonna lie, before I knew it was Love Holiday, I would call it Would You Mind Too. So I'm guilty of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But yeah,
Just
this
like
song
just
is.
like LTD, just like LTD, Love Ballad is what we
Love
have
ballad.
more than they can see,
Oh no,
So
I'll cut some people out for that record because that's my favorite record. Period. Love song. Period. So do not mess up that title at
but
all. Love Ballad is what it's called, and that's just what it is.
but the
The,
funny
the
thing about
irony
that
of
is
the irony of JR saying don't mess up the title.
This
The
is not about
irony.
that, ma'am.
but what I but that's another intentional thing, a serendipitous thing. Love's
Yes.
Holiday and Love Ballad both written by the same guy.
Yes. Skip.
Yep.
Skip Scarborough. Skip
Yes.
Scarborough.
Yes,
I just want
Lord.
to take a little time to shout out the late
Yes.
great songwriter Skip Scarborough and
Yes.
producer. He wrote a lot of great songs for Earth, Wind, Fire, and particularly he and Maurice wrote together From Head to the Sky, he wrote a great song called "The World Is a
The
Masquerade."
words that I met. Yes.
He wrote "Can't Hide Love" from Gratitude.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Great song. And then you talk about the Emotions, which Maurice on their Rejoice album. Their
Yep.
big single was Don't Ask My Neighbor, which Skip Scarborough wrote. He also wrote the great song Love Changes, which has been done numerous times.
Mhm.
Um, he also
Changes.
that's my love put you through. And then another one that he wrote that I love that was Lovely Day by Bill Withers. They wrote that together too. So I just wanted to
Oh, damn, he did write that. Oh, God. Okay.
give a
Okay.
shout out to Skip Scarborough, who's a very
Yes.
good champion. Like he should have his own unsung. I always say you have to have 3 hits to have an unsung episode. So I think that that's like the threshold. So I think that he's definitely somebody that needs to have, I'm not
I
trying to hurt
agree.
nobody. I'm
No,
just,
no, you're
just being
not. You're
real.
not. I get
There's
it.
some
I get
people
it.
that get unsung that have 1.5 hits. Um,
Yeah.
so I won't name any names, maybe, but I'm just saying, Adrian Howard.
Oh,
I'm just
no.
That's what was on my mind.
that's what
That was
that
on my mind. I
that
ain't
was
gonna lie.
one and a, yep. See, to be right, be here
Yes.
were her 1.5 songs.
And the half is generous. The half is very
Oh,
generous.
God.
But yeah.
Oh,
But
yes.
but but yes, but Love's Holiday is a beautiful love song. Well, it's not even a love song, it's a slow jam. Because there's a difference
Yes.
between love songs and slow jams. Like All About Love from That's the Way of the World, that's a love song. Love's Holiday is a slow jam. This song was written with the intent to get people to come together and bodily fluids to be, whatever you want to call
To
it. You know what
to
I'm
get
saying?
the serpentine fire.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yes. Battle. And he said that's why he said, battle with the serpentine fire. I
Just the
That
agree.
close.
part.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But Maurice,
Yeah.
he sets it off. Would you mind if I touch, if I kiss, if I held you tight in the morning light, if I make love to you till I'm satisfied? And then the other thing is consent.
I was
Another
just
song
about to
that
say that.
is
And you knew I
consent.
was. It's
Yes,
a
go ahead.
consent
Go ahead.
carol, which
Go
I
ahead.
still keep meaning to make that playlist of consent carols, but now I'm
Yo,
inspired again.
but even so, you said consent carols. I hate that fact that John Legend remade "Baby It's Cold Outside" to make that into a consent anthem. Instead of using the original lyrics, I'm just like, okay, no, that's just a little
Yeah.
too. That's a
Well,
that's a one bridge too far. But
yeah. He's a fucking weirdo anyway. So.
Mm.
but but the funny thing about what you said, Jr. earlier about Maurice's voice, which is an extremely underrated voice, was a lot of people think that Maurice was the original singer and then he brought in Philip to be a second singer. It's actually the other way around. When Maurice brought in Philip, he intended for Philip to be the only vocalist.
Yep.
But he realized because Philip has such a high register that there is a void that he couldn't fill with certain songs, as he called the man stuff. So he had to use his baritone, in those sort of songs to sort
In
of
my
even
heart
out.
tonight.
But so I appreciate the fact that Maurice, sort of got rid of the shy because he was shy about his singing for some reason or another. All the best singers are insecure about their voice.
Ain't they though? Oh
Yeah.
my God. I'm
Donny Hathaway was dumb insecure about his voice.
dumb insecure about his. I'm like, are you serious? Like,
Yeah,
ugh.
just like, come on,
Yeah.
man.
The only people that don't have imposter syndrome are imposters. So do with that what
I
you
don't
Agreed.
know.
will.
Luther Vandross was very aware how good he was. He was
An-
very aware how good he was.
anomaly. But that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Maurice, man, he had such a great voice, and one of my favorite Maurice vocals is in this album. Well, to a song we'll get to later, but I just love, like you said, that guitar solo. Shout out to Johnny Graham once again. Johnny Graham, if you see this, call Questlove. He's trying to reach you for his Earth, Wind, and Fire documentary. Um, but I think that just like I said, it just shows the range of the band because of the
Hmm.
fact that you have, I mean, the principal member, there are nine principal members of this band, and they all find and Maurice is the boss. So it's not a democratic process. But I no, I'm serious. I was blessed enough to interview Earth, Wind, and Fire, interviewed Philip, Verdine, and Ralph when their most recent album came out back about 11 years ago. And I said,
Mhm.
how did you guys manage to keep things democratic with nine people? And Philip said it wasn't democratic. Maurice was the boss, and we all respected him, and we all relied on him to be the boss. And so the fact that everybody's form still got to shine for as long as it did is a minor miracle.
Damn, I didn't know it. Because I thought you with Maurice, I thought like he's a musician himself because I know him from being a drummer on, that's how he got into the industry of, what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then he played on Jackie Wilson's You Lifted Me Higher and what's the name?
Cartel of
Rescue Me.
Rescue Me. Yep.
Yes. So I'm
Durant
thinking him as a
Show.
musician, he gonna let people just play how they feel. I never knew it was like he like, look, y'all gonna do this, and this is how it goes, and y'all just gotta follow my
It's not
lead.
it's not an accident that Maurice is 10 years older than everybody else in the band.
That
So
part.
so
Yep.
so the thing about that is the fact that so Earth, this is the second iteration of Earth, Wind, and Fire. People also have to remember. The first two albums, or the Warner Brothers albums, was a completely different lineup with the exception of Maurice and Maurice's brother Verdine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Mhm.
a lot of people who were either older than Maurice or as old as Maurice, with the exception of Verdine, who is 10 years younger than Maurice or 9 years younger than Maurice. He
Mm-hmm.
disbanded that band because he wanted to get a more commercial sound. And so he knew he had to employ younger musicians. So he ended up getting them. And then it evolved into the way that it did. I think, but because the fact that he wanted to have a more commercial sound, that he purposely tried to get younger people and people that he could guide. So that because it's difficult to boss people around when they're your age or older. So I think that Maurice had a vision of what he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do, and this helped ensure that his vision was carried out the way that he felt that it should have been. And I commend all the members for following that vision and respecting his leadership for as long as they did or could. And I also respect Verdine, Ralph, and Philip for continuing that legacy beyond Maurice's first leaving the band because of his health issues and then eventually passing away.
So okay, so when they got the new band, was it on the uh Head to the Sky album?
No,
That's
it
when
was
the new
no.
band kept
So the
coming
new
in?
band came in on Last Days in Time. So
Okay.
basically, when Last Days in Time comes on, it's
Mm-hmm.
Philip comes in, Larry Dunn comes in, Andrew Woolfolk comes in, Johnny Graham comes in. And then once they get to Head to the Sky, then Al McKay joins the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, Fred White comes on to be the second drummer. That's Maurice and Verdine's younger brother. Because Fred was a teenager playing with Donny Hathaway in his band in
Band,
the
yes.
So the Donny Hathaway live album, the drummer on that is Fred White,
Right.
Maurice and
Yeah.
Verdine's youngest brother. He was 16 years old, 17 years old. So when you
Damn.
go back and listen to Little Ghetto Boy and all that stuff, that's Fred. So, and he was just a kid. So he joined Earth, Wind, and Fire for the That's the Way of the World album, and then he stayed with them all the way through Electric Universe. So that's when, so basically from Open Our Eyes on to Faces, that's the nine people run. And then Al McKay leaves. He gets replaced with Roland Batista, who actually played on Last Days in Time. before he joined the band. Then he comes back for Rays and Powerlight and Electric Universe. But basically, that core of Maurice, Verdine, Philip, Ralph, Larry Dunn, uh, that is in place from 1972 until 1983.
Yeah, because you could definitely tell the difference between um Last Day in Time going into, Head to the Sky to me. But when I
Yeah,
was listening to the catalog, I was like, okay, you could tell that the first two albums, you could tell that these guys are just playing, they're playing, they just jamming. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then when you get to Head to the Sky, you could tell, okay, there's a little bit more structure here. And then by the time you got to open your eyes, it's like, okay, now we know where we're going. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, that's what, so when I was listening to these albums again, getting into them, I was like, the first two, you like, okay, they just in the studio and they just going in. So for
yeah,
you giving me, I did not know that it was a new band that came in, but you can feel it. You can
yeah,
tell, like, it's a whole new different swag with these albums. God damn it, Matthew, you did it again. Okay. I'm saying. I swear, because I'm listening. When I was listening to these albums again, I was texting Sin the whole time. I was like, "This feels different. Like, is there
yeah,
any new things in here? Like, what's going on with this?" And he was like,
yeah,
"Well, yeah, but then we didn't go into it because I started asking him other questions." He'd be like, "So he had
yeah.
to answer
Because
those, so we didn't go there."
the production and the engineering on All in All is sleeker than
Mm-hmm.
Spirit. Spirit,
Yeah.
the production is fatter and weightier, and like you said, you made a very astute observation that it's darker, which I didn't even honestly pick up on until you said that. It is probably one of the darkest, if not the darkest album that they have, even though it isn't dark in the way that like a Hear My Dear is dark or a Velvet Rope is dark.
Hmm.
But I think it's definitely their darkest record. And so the contrast with Charles's production on Spirit, with Maurice producing solo on All in All, it is like a night and day thing because Maurice, it's extremely sleek and it's shiny. It's a little faster. I think that it's kind of like when you play Sonic the Hedgehog and you get the red feet in the box and it goes
Yes.
that's all in all to me
Uh-huh.
from a production and engineering standpoint.
Yes.
All
Mm.
right. Then we come to our second interlude. The oh the it's
Brazilian,
it's the best day ever, ever. What an
yeah,
interlude.
it's
It's just
it's yeah.
it's cultural. It's that body is in my bloodstream.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
that, and that's the most used. Let me tell you something.
Anthem.
I used to
Oh
make,
God.
I talked about my dad making mixtapes. I used to make mixtapes too, like thematic mixtapes. I was going to
Hmm.
make a mixtape of all Earth, Wind, and Fire instrumentals, and it was actually titled Badia.
Yep.
It was BA dash DEE dash YA because that's like the universal scat they do in all of their songs and in their instrumentals is Badia. And that's the Brazilian rhyme that's just like, this is a song that could be a song in and of itself rather than just being an interlude. That's how strong it is. And once again, like you said, JR, the whole thing with the Brazilian aspect of it, the fact that it's Brazilian rhyme and it's just so like exactly what it is. And it's been used in hip hop. So it's just like just it's just and it's that and not even the combination of the Brazilian thing, but also that's doo-wop too.
Yep.
So you
Oh
got
yes.
still very much influential. Like that next year, Hear My Dear comes out. Like I said, that's a super doo-wop influence record. is
Yes.
You're My Dear. So and I Want You, which came out the year before that.
Hmm.
So that's still very much influential in a lot of Black music is doo-wop music at the time. It's sort of
Okay.
beginning to get phased out shortly after, but it's still very much very, very present.
Like this song is just jazz. I'm not song interlude. Cause did they do a whole song of this? Is it?
No,
It's not a full version.
no, it's not a whole song. They've done. If you listen to the special edition CD
Uh,
of this, there's a live. They put on a live version
Yeah.
of this, which is like 3 minutes. That's like the
okay.
um.
Okay.
I know that
Hmm.
you can probably find a long version of this on YouTube that was like never released that gets posted, but
hmm
mm, but yeah, I think that just in and of itself. And then like the intricacies again with the harmonies. It's just, it's very symphonic when it gets to that point. So it's just so many different influences in that small little space.
I just love the fact that like like the first 7 seconds is like just Philip and Maurice's harmonies is just they use it as instruments. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's just instruments, and then you just hear the finger snaps in the beginning.
Hmm.
You just hearing the finger snaps, and then they come in with their blend, and then you come in with the drums, and then the
Hmm.
bass line comes in, and then they all come in together. It's just like that. It's just
I love
music,
the
period, to
guitar.
me.
I love the guitar groove. Like I don't know,
Yes.
the guitar groove at the end. This is what I'm talking about with people letting their form shine. It's just those little flourishes that still mean so much and catch your ear immediately when you hear it. It's
Hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
amazing, amazing.
What's the title of this record? Because I call it Brazilian Rhyme, but
No,
what's the title?
it's Brazilian rhyme, but there's technically two Brazilian rhyme interludes on this. So little um they each have their own little subtitles. So if
Right.
you go to I'll tell you in a second. So
Fonte.
so for this one, it's called Bijo, BEI.
Bija.
So
Like
that's
that's what it says on Spotify, but on the
yeah,
record,
Bijo.
it's Brazilian
Yeah.
rhyme. Okay.
Okay.
It's
Mhm.
parenthetic Bijo because there's another Brazilian rhyme that comes on the second side, and we'll talk about that. And
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. Because those doesn't that means kiss?
I don't know what I've never actually found out what it actually
That's what
translates.
I thought because I was like, it would make sense, especially coming after Love's Holiday. Like a song like this and it means kiss is just like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I
Look
wonder if
that up.
that's what it is in Portuguese, because in Spanish it's beso. So let's see.
oh, okay.
So we about
Okay.
to find out, but I don't think it
Come on,
means
come.
nothing.
Uh,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
that's exactly what it means. It means kiss or smooch.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, then after the slow jam, I just give you a little smooch.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting your groove on, and then
Yep.
yeah,
Get your groove
and
on.
when you're done, you have that ending kiss. Wow, like I love you.
Yep.
Yeah.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. You learn something new every
I was gonna
day,
say
man.
something else, real terrible taste. I'm glad I held
Yeah.
back.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
oh.
And then we come to I'll write a song for you.
Come on, Philip. Come on, Philip. Like, this is when we get into the folk vibes, right?
Yeah,
And yes, smile. Yes,
the
ma'am.
range,
I
the
know you love
range.
this.
I do. I do.
What? How? I was like, when I first heard this song, and I was like, oh, what would this be like if this was a duet between Philip and Minnie Riperton? How would it have sounded?
This does sound like something that she would sing. Another person that's very connected with Charles Stepney,
Yep.
with the road. Uh, this
Our
is
heads would have exploded.
it's so in her bag because it's just such ethereal composition.
It's just the
Yeah, it's
strings,
very
man.
twinkly. Like
Yes.
it's very dream sequence, and I'm here for it.
Very much. And just the range again, acoustic guitar, it's just
Yeah.
so lush. And again, the lyrics, I thirst but never quench. I know the consequence, feeling as I do. We're in a spinning top where tell me will it stop? And what am I to say? Open our music book that only few can look, and I'll write a song for you. It's so endearing and earnest. Um, I can't.
It's so
Ex
wholesome.
it really is, and it's a song that
Sweet.
grew on because I liked it when I was a kid, but because I was
Hmm.
funk like thing as a kid. But as I
Hmm.
got older, I really, really appreciate it more, especially like when I'm paying attention to the bass, especially when it goes that and you hear the bass going along with it, that doom doom doom
Hmm.
doom 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 doom. Oh, and then when at the end it goes ah, with the bass
Yeah.
doom doom doom. Once again, that's a
That 3 minute.
restrained version of that idea of not having any dead spots and filling in with music, but they do it in such a restrained way. It's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, when this song gets at it's about about 3 minutes, 50 seconds, give or take a couple, it just opens the fuck up and you kind of don't even see it coming and it's just like, oh, what happened? This just got intense. So
It's actually a little shocking. Once, like, because it's so endearing, once Philip uses the word baby in it, I was just like, oh, you're kind of taking it to a more sensual place when it was really more of like I said, like more of an earnest place. Once he starts saying, my baby, and just I'm like, oh, okay. So
you saw the
it went from a
spirit.
love song to a slow jam at the end. So
Mhm.
it is, but that's how wholesome it is, Elise, is the fact that once you start using certain like terminologies, it's like, oh, you're kind of like desecrating the song a little bit.
Hmm. 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 Have they? He performed this. Was this a single too?
No, it wasn't a single, but they performed this live. I have a they did one of Maurice's last tour, in
Hmm.
1995, right before they
Uh,
did this Mad Summer Jam. That's like Maurice's last tour. They do a live version of this song, and it's just absolutely beautiful. But the recorded version of this is just it's so gorgeous. And this is, of course,
yes.
when you have side A and side B, and this is the first song on side B, and it's such a wonderful way to start the second half of this record, especially after you start with Serpentine Fire, you end with Brazilian Rhyme, and then you go into I Write a Song for You on side B. People really actually paid attention to sequencing back then so much that you had to sequence an album on the first side a certain way and then sequence the album on the second side a certain way.
Mm.
Today, if they do pay attention to sequencing, it's as one continuous thing rather than concentrating on side A and side B. So I just appreciate that so much.
Agreed. This song is just like you said. You said the words is lush. It's very lush, and it's just like. And I think Maurice was like, "Okay, we're gonna let the horns chill for a second because we've been pumping y'all with these horns this whole damn album.
Hmm.
So let's kind of bring it down a little bit because we about to bring it back again. we about to,
But there is a little part for the horns and the bridge that boop, boop,
yeah,
boop, boop, boop,
yeah.
boop.
Mm,
It doesn't, it's just enough. It's just, you know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
don't go
hmm.
just enough. It's like Rock With You. I wanna rock with you, boo, 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 boo. And then that's just it. They just give you that little bit and they just take it back.
Yes. Yeah.
That restraint. I just love that.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
All right. And then we come to Magic Mind.
Why did it come in like this? Why did this song
Yo,
come in the way it did?
Now
it came
I'm
in
I'm a
so funky.
but
Funk.
I'm gonna tell you though. I'm gonna tell you though. This is my least favorite song on this album.
Really?
This is
You
my
know what?
least favorite song on this
I
album.
agree. It is my least favorite,
I'm
but
not
I
saying it's
feel,
bad. It's
but
just
I
my
like it.
least favorite. I do like it.
The rest of it is just so, yeah, is yeah.
I would, and I mean, I get it. I get it. It's just for me, I just love the horn break at
Hmm.
like the 2 minute and 40 seconds, about 250, like there, and it's a horn break. And then it's like Verdine comes in with that bass line, right? And
Hmm.
then the horns just come back in.
Yeah,
And then like 312, when you think the song is over,
that
you
false
think,
fade. Yeah.
yes, it's like it's over. And then it's like boom, it comes back in. I said musicality at its finest to me. So I love this record. Like
Mhm.
I'm like go in, but I think I might have to agree with y'all though. I'm like looking at y'all like on the way, like, but I might
Yeah.
have to agree. It might be the least, but it's not a bad song.
No,
Not bad at all.
it's not a bad
No,
song at all. It's just the
no.
song that I probably enjoy the least on the album, or it doesn't pop out to me the way other songs
Agreed.
you know what I'm saying? So I mean every
Mm-hmm.
album has that song on it that's just like, okay, I like this, but everything else is just kind of make like this sticks out like a sore thumb when you compare it to everything else. Like every album has that. It's no big deal. But I do
Mm-hmm.
love like the guitars on this is like what makes the song. Just the rhythm guitar that like it's like how fast are they playing? It's just like so incredible. And then I love it when Earth, Wind, and Fire does references of old titles. So like in a lot of their songs they do this. So in Mighty Mighty they make a reference to Head to the Sky, and
Yep.
on this and and um on Fair But So Uncool they say they reference a future song, won't you ever yearn to learn, and then yearn and learn is on
Yeah.
that world.
Hmm.
Then on this, they say, "Cause you're through feeling blue," and "Feeling Blue" was a song from Open Our Eyes. I just love it when they reference their material like that. It's so cute.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cute.
Yes.
It is
Agreed.
a yeah. I think why it falls kind of on my least is because I guess in a lot of the other songs you hear these different movements and shifts, and it's just
Mhm.
a very fun funk tune.
Yeah,
Like it's
straight
cool.
ahead. It's the most straight ahead song in terms
Yeah.
of arrangement. Just
Yes.
it doesn't deviate too much from that chord progression. Like sometimes here and there, but it's the most straight ahead song they have on the album. But I'm not mad at it. I just don't enjoy it as much as other songs on it.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm good.
Yes. But now we are running, which is the song that I thought would be JR's favorite.
It's still a blissful song. I ain't used that in a while,
Oh
but
goodness. Yeah. I love that that damn that guitar lick, that riff is just
That riff is crazy.
it's
nuts.
it's delicious. Ah, I'm like, yeah.
The way
But
it
I
just opened up with the synth, like that synth riff, like
Right.
it's just
It's
boom.
no
like
fake. You don't even expect it's not
Larry
even a
Dunn has to
drum
have
beat,
like 8 or 9
just
fingers on one hand to play that. I don't get it.
it's insane.
Then it just goes into a solo break. Like, how do you do that? Like, go into the riff and then a solo break, and then it's like, okay, we can go into the song now. Like, that
And then they
damn
go
Maurice.
faster. The fact that they speed up
Yes.
is
Ugh.
insane. With that trumpet solo, and that speed up part is crazy. And then the horns,
Yeah.
like I literally, this is the other thing about Earth, Wind, and Fire about their instrumentals. Their instrumentals are so melodically strong. You know, I literally know that trumpet solo, like every note. Like you all know I know it, so it's whatever. But I mean, I could do it if I, but I don't want to take up too much time. We've already been up here for like an
No,
hour.
go.
You know, just like I just love it. I just love it. And then but then again, the self-referential thing. Once it goes out, the little serpentine fire comes back.
A little bit,
Little
yes,
bit of serpentine fires comes
yes.
back. And I just love that little, like when they're talking in the back, if you don't understand me, it's your fault. And then that used to be my going back to my dorm room song. So I used to curate the soundtrack of my life in college. And I used to listen to specific songs at specific points of the day. Like when I would crest to go like into the Great Lawn to walk to my class, there'd be like trees, and I'd listen to In the Stone. And as soon as it got to a point in the stone, the sun would come out once I broke the tree line. And it's the same
Yeah.
thing. I was walking home from my dorm. Once I got to the ramp that leads to my dorm, I get to that point, it's your fault. As the sun is going down, I was a weird child and a weird 18-year-old, but I have very visceral memories of this particular song at that particular point. But
Wow.
All right. Well, we go to another interlude, another Brazilian rhyme.
now this one is
Now,
uh Ponta da Diera, which is a composition by a Brazilian jazz artist, Milton Nascimento. I can't pronounce his last name.
I don't even look at me to do
I don't even try.
it.
He just did a collab album with Esperanza Spalding a couple months ago.
Yes, yes.
So this song existed before this album dropped. So he recorded it himself on one of his albums. And it doesn't sound like Earth and Fire's version, but the melody, the vocal melody of his song they do on this that da 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 da. He has children sing it in his version.
Mhm.
Here they use a flute to play that melody. This is and this is a criminally short interlude. Criminally short because I just love the flute, and then the piano does it again, and then it's just gone. But if you have the Eternal Dance box set, um there's a full 2.5 minute version of this song. And I actually replaced, like, so when I put All in All on my phone, I actually take the album version of this one and replace it with the Eternal Dance version so that I can listen to it like organically. I
That
told you
you know,
it's terrible. It's like the Jacksons Torture. Like I love the 12-inch version of Torture, but I hate the album version.
I hate that version.
So I replaced the album version of Torture with the with the 12-inch.
um,
It sounds like that's the thing. Same thing with Prince on the Gold Experience. I don't like the album version of The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. The single version is way better. So I replaced it so that I can listen to it's like
it's so much better. But as
yeah.
soon as you said you made a playlist like that, I was like, that sounds like some JR shit. Because he, if you don't like,
I'm
he'll
good
make
for that.
no, he do that, but it always fit. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
So when I saw what the definition of this song was, it means end of the line, right?
Mhm.
So when I'm listening to this album, right, and mind you, this is the first time I'm listening to it, and I'm realizing this is the last interlude of the album, and we're about to end. I always say that this is kind of like Maurice is saying, "All right, we're at the end of this journey now." You know what I mean? This is the interlude where I'm letting you know we're coming to the end. This is it. You know what I mean? Like you've taken this journey with us. Now we're at the end, and I think this is kind of like the end of an interlude to get us ready for what we about to get. Cause woof, this.
Very much. It's very
My
much like Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. They
Yeah.
get Sergeant Pepper's Reprise, and then they get into A Day in the Life. It's very much like Back on the Block by Quincy Jones, where you have the prelude to the garden and it leads into the secret garden.
Mm-hmm.
Or like we talked about it in our last episode, um, Black Messiah. We have Back to the Future Part Two that leads
Yep.
to Another Life. It's so it all comes from these sorts of moments where it's just, and I love the fact that you looked that up because I didn't even know that that's what it meant, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, you're preparing to get to that last part. But yes,
Yes,
we are
because when
going
I
to talk
saw
about
that,
this
I was
last
like,
part.
I ain't know what that shit meant. So I was like, let me go look at what the hell this means.
And it
I
never
was like, let me
occurred to
go
me,
look at
you know
what
what's
it
crazy?
means.
It never occurred to me to look it up. It never occurred to me to translate it. So I feel awful about this. Like
Oh no.
how
but
dare I not translate that?
Go.
mhm. But that it's so lovely that our favorite Earth, Wind and Fire songs are on the same album because Be Ever Wonderful is my
Oh,
absolute
okay, go
favorite
off. I knew
Earth,
that was
Wind and
coming.
Fire song. It is a very unusually structured and sung song. The phrasing of the verses, I just don't know how you would have even think to sing it in that way. Like it's I don't know. I've never heard phrasing like that, even
Mhm.
from him.
Let,
And
let,
it's
let me
just
tell you about the phrasing and the arrangement. The first time I heard it, it was jarring because when the horns come in, ba 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 ba, and then it slows down like, oh, I thought I was gonna get like another funk jam that was gonna be super fast, but then it slows
That's
down
what I thought.
and it goes into that doo-wop thing again. Ba-da, ba-da, then that sax solo. It's just yeah, just that doo-wop back again.
hmm yeah.
I always feel like this is like the precursor, the way it is musically. This is like the precursor to After the Love Is Gone, as
Mm.
far as musically to me. Like it gives you that feel like, okay, so when you hear that, it's like, and Maurice is singing down yet again. Like he's going in on this. And I love a song lyrically. And when he says, stay as you are, not change for nobody. Like
Yes,
that part right there, you know what I'm saying? And now I understand why Elise says this a lot and why this is her favorite joint, because she always tells me that. She always tells me that. She always be like, stay you. Do not change for nobody. And when we was about to do this episode, and she was like, you know my favorite song is Be Ever Wonderful, right? And I was like, really? And I was like, oh. And then I went to the lyrics. I was like, this is what Elise always tells me, and always tell me, just stay you. And to hear this, and for him to say that, and then it takes me back because I'm glad that you said it. He got to say it before I did. You mentioned Janet. I didn't say it. You said it first. So, so this song reminds me of Special, like Special
oh,
from Velvet Rope
from
to
Velvet
me.
Rope.
Yes, because it's like she's like you're special in your own way. You ain't got to change for nobody. So when I heard this song for the first time, it brought me back to that 11-year-old boy that didn't think he was, that think it was weird and was not included. And like, I love music so much. So people thought it was like, oh God, why you like music like this? Like you just too into it. And everybody would look at me like I'm weird. So I never felt like I was included. So when I heard this song 4 years ago, it brought me back to that time. Like, oh my God, like I am special. Ain't nothing wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? I got a co-host that's just as crazy as me. I got Matthew just as crazy as me that love music like that. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this song really took me back to that 11-year-old boy, and I was like, ah, this reminds me of Special, and then it reminds me of Elise and all that. That's why at least this is your ringtone on my phone.
Are you fucking
Oh,
kidding me? Are
I'm
you
not lying. I'm not lying. Nope. Yes.
serious?
Yes. Yes.
That's so
Yes.
awesome.
That's why it bugged me out that you said this was your favorite joint on the album because I had this as your ringtone. So when you call me, it always comes up. Yes. Yes. I
same
want to
here.
tell you that on the show. I didn't want to tell you that before then. Yes.
Got a lot of nerve. You know, you make me emotional. Oh,
Yes. This is your ringtone. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
It's funny that you said, at least it's funny that you said it makes me emotional. This is a song that broke me after Maurice passed away. So
Oh. Yeah.
I I'd listened to the song 1,000 times. Like I said, I was what 12 years old the first time I heard this whole album. I'd listened to it a million times. When I was in college, I had a Discman. I used to listen to this disc like in college all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm writing for Ebony magazine, right? And my editor texts me. He's like, "Hey, I need you to write a Maurice White obit for me tonight." And I was just like, "Maurice White died?" Like that was how I found that.
no,
Oh
So I'm
no.
literally
no.
I'm literally on the L train in Brooklyn, New York, getting this news. So I
That's
rushed
right.
back to my apartment and I'm like, you made the right decision. Ain't no damn body gonna write an obit better than I could about this man. And
I
I
know that's right.
and then they edited it to the high heavens because it was like a 2,000 word obit. It was only supposed to be 600 words. And and um and they put it out. And I was sort of numb for a bit. And then after a few weeks, I was like, okay, I'm good. I was in the green room of my former of the studio, my former studio at in Brooklyn. And
Mhm.
in the green room, there's all these fluorescent lights. And if you sit in front of a fluorescent light, you see all your pores and the holes in your face and stuff. So I was
Mhm.
like, so I try not to look into it too much. But I was sitting there having my lunch, listening to this album, and Be Ever Wonderful came on, and it broke me. Like when I
Oh,
really sat and listened to it, because it was not only making me think about, Stay As You Are, because I was like that kid that didn't have a lot of friends that had music to be my refuge. It was like Maurice White and Philip Bailey were my friends, Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson and Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield and Carole King. Those were like my friends.
right.
So they meant more to me than the average person.
Yeah.
So, um, so when that song came on and I thought about the fact that he's saying stay as you are, and I'm like, I am okay just being me. And then also just the whole thing of me understanding that stay as you are, this is like he's talking to the black community, you know,
Yeah.
so I
Mhm.
had the same reaction when like I heard Be Good by Gregory Porter. That's another song that broke me hard, because that made me think about what it's like to be black in America. So
Ooh.
it's that when it gets to that moment when he goes, what I want to do and what I like to tell you, I lost it and I was blubbering, crying in the green, like I was looking up in the mirror and I was a full blown mess. It
Oh
was like I
man.
was at a funeral. It was just that I was as sad as could be, and but at the same because it's just like you get older and you realize mortality and you realize these people who mean so much to you are not going to be around forever. And then when you realize that they're gone, it's like you think that as long as they're around, they got one more left, you
Yeah.
know? It's or okay, well, they can fix it, like everything's wrong with the world, but okay, but Maurice White's all right. They'll make another record. They'll make me feel better. That's why when they made new songs, like I remember the first time I heard Pure Gold on the radio, and I was like, "Is this Earth, Wind, and Fire?" And the song was so great, and then I found out Jam and Lewis made the song, and I was just like, oh, this is such a great.
Mm,
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I was just like, as long as they're here, they can get one more, just one more time, they can just like blow my mind. And when they leave, it's just like, I'm never gonna have that feeling ever again. And the finality of that was
real.
extremely real. The same thing that happened to me when Michael Jackson died. It took months before I really accepted the fact that he was gone. And then I heard a song on the train. I was on the Q train this time, and I just completely just fell to pieces.
So,
And
damn.
or like the New Edition story in the second episode when they were recording Can You Stand the Rain? I was a I was just I you would have thought that you go to those movies with the funeral and everyone's like, "Yeah, let me take me with you, give me out." I was
Yeah.
just because I was like, those days are never coming back, are they?
Hmm.
So Ever Wonderful is one of those things. It's just like it's such a great, beautiful, uplifting song, but it also signaled that but Maurice's vocal performance on it is one of the best of his career too. It's just
I agree.
I just love that song, and it's a perfect way to end the album. We don't like I
Yes.
talk about the album opening songs. The album closer songs are good too, but this is a exquisite album closer.
Yes. Oh,
Masterclass.
yes. Oh, oh,
Yeah,
yes. For
it's
sure.
it's another life type shit.
Yeah,
Yes.
Life, it's
Yes.
higher. It's like Purple Rain. Well, not Purple Rain so much, but I mean for some maybe, but it's like Adore, or sometimes it snows in April.
April.
It's
Huh. Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought this album to us to talk about.
Yes. Yes.
And you are the
yeah,
exact right person. We weren't supposed to talk about it before because we were supposed to talk about it with Matthew.
Yeah.
And that's
That
just
part.
fact. That's just
Let's talk
facts.
about it with him.
thank you. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that people were dumb and decided not to talk about it.
Okay.
So stupid.
No
So
offense to
stupid.
the
Maybe
previous.
I think the only
Yes.
time we got, I think the only time we got to talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire was when Darius picked
the
Don't Ask My
emotion.
Neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got to
That,
talk
Right.
about Earth, Wind, and Fire a little bit because we got to talk about Maurice because he
mhm.
produced the record. So we got to talk about him a little bit, but
Yeah.
that was
A
about
lot.
it.
I love Earth, Wind, and Fire, like their session, like their work as a group for other artists uh
Hmm.
Mhm.
during that period, because it's not just the emotion records, like a song like Flowers, for instance, which is like one of my
Oh,
favorite emotion
oh,
songs. That's Earth, Wind, and Fire. Of course, Best of My Love, that's Maurice and Al McKay, who wrote a lot of great songs together as a duo.
yeah,
Of course, A Feeling Is, Blessed, Rejoice, Don't Ask My Neighbor.
of
Mhm.
course.
And of course, This Is Nisi, that album, all that's Earth, Wind, and Fire and Charles Stepney, along with help from Nathan Watts. And then Ramsey Lewis, Maurice White's former employer, they
As a drummer,
laced them with, Hot Dog It and Sun Goddess and Solange and all those records that he did in the mid 70s. I just love this era of Earth, Wind, and Fire because they have such a signature sound at this point in time. And Maurice was such a signature producer at this point. Um,
mhm,
and I'm so glad that he continued to produce for other artists deep into the 1980s and 90s, like El DeBarge and Barbara Streisand and so many other people. And interesting enough, before Charles Stepney died, he was in negotiations to produce a Michael Jackson solo record.
uh,
So when the
Mhm.
Jacksons signed to CBS, there was a clause in Michael's contract that he would be able to make a solo record at some point in time. Um,
okay.
so because of that, CBS was negotiating with Charles Stepney to possibly produce a Michael Jackson solo record. But Charles Stepney passed away before anything evolved beyond that. This is
Mm.
for the Wiz and everything. So just thinking about what a Charles Stepney produced Michael Jackson solo record in the mid to late 1970s would have sounded like. Just something for you to ruminate on.
That our history would have been different.
No, history would have been shit, Michael might still be alive if that would have happened.
Well,
Yeah. On that note, no. We have actually come to my favorite part of the show. That it's going to be a word song association today. And I am going to give you songs from other bands in the 70s that topped the charts and just first thought, memory, emotion, whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
love this part.
It's my favorite part. All right. First song is the Confunction Fun.
Hmm. Pop. I like when I hear that song, I'm like, okay, that's the prototypical crossover record for a super black band of the 1970s and 80s. Like every band has that. Okay, it's very easy to understand that this song crossed over. That's that for Confunction.
Absolutely. All right. Next song, Rufus featuring Shaka Khan, Hollywood. And I meant to say they're all from 77, by the
Mhm.
way.
Yes, I picked up on that. Um, Cautionary. This is a very cautionary tale. This is sort of a cousin of Midnight Train to Georgia. Um, so it's sort of like that rags to riches sort of thing that you want to go to Hollywood, but you don't know what you're in for. you know, so there's like a darkness and a weariness in the lyric that's not present in the melody. There's lots of songs like that where like it sounds like a bright song, but when you listen to the lyrics, it's kind of cryptic and dark. Like probably the best version of that is "Hey Ya" by Outkast, but that's what Hollywood
Hmm.
by
Yeah,
Rufus represents to me.
yeah. What about you, JR? I keep telling you, you don't have to be quiet during
but no, I love it when the cats do it, so I'm here for it. No, 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 I'm good. I'm good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I be want to hear what you got to say, brother.
I'm good. I love this.
All right. The Commodores, Easy,
Ooh,
Mm,
which is
okay.
also Brick House here.
Yeah,
I just I,
right.
I didn't
that's
want to do that.
that's the Commodores. That's their every like I alluded to this with Confunction. Every black band has that point where like their their rawness and their commercial viability sort of meet in the middle, and then their rawness goes down and their commercialism goes up. This is that point for the Commodores. Easy is gospel. That's a straight up it's so crazy because it's a kiss off song. It's a total breakup song,
Hmm.
but but people think of it as an uplifting song. You listen to the lyrics, no. He's like, I'm leaving you to I can't stand the pain. I'm leaving you.
Tomorrow.
You know what I'm saying? This is his get gone. You know what I'm saying? This is his irreplaceable. You know, this, this is his didn't I blow your mind this time? You know what I'm saying?
It's
Um,
it's it's his pretty wings. It's all
exactly.
those.
But easy is that's people don't really like people don't understand like the country, western, and gospel influences of Lionel Richie. Like if you go
Hmm.
back to like like all those songs are like that. That's why when he did a country album that covered all with a country cover album of all his songs with country artists, that's not on accident. All those songs are country songs and gospel songs. Easy is straight up gospel and country. Just that dun, 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 dun. That's church all day, all night. That's benediction music right there. That's why it's at the end of the album. I
Hmm.
just get mad that it cuts off before the guitar can really like when they start to modulate, they modulate once and then it fades. I'm like, dude, you
Yeah.
could, but but
Yeah. It's such
but
a tease.
it's a southern it's as southern as southern can get for a group like that.
Hmm. All right. Next up, we have the Brothers Johnson Strawberry Letter 23.
Mm.
Mm.
Even though they say 22. The
And do.
song
And
is the
do.
23rd letter. Like, um, wow. I'm gonna say one word because it's, we can't not say it at this point, and that's Quincy.
Yeah.
You know,
Period.
we lost Quincy a couple weeks ago,
Yep.
91 years. And he once said that MIT could keep him alive till he was like 110. He didn't quite make it, but he got further than a lot of his contemporaries. He probably outlived everybody he ever worked with. Um, but the funny thing about that song is that it's written by Shuggy Otis, a criminally underrated artist and guitarist, who recorded it first also. Quincy tried to sign him and do a record with him, and Shuggy declined because he didn't want to have a Quincy Jones produced record because he wanted to produce the record himself. Um, which is good because we got albums like Inspiration Information, which is such a great record. Um, but Quincy ended up doing Strawberry Letter 23 with the Brothers Johnson because George Johnson, the guitarist in the Brothers Johnson, was a friend of Shuggy Otis. And the way that he transformed that song, from a production standpoint, is completely just genius. And it's so atmospheric, um, and so, it's sensuous and it's funky. Um, it's just, and that's a tribute to Quincy's vision and his arrangement abilities. It's just so I gotta just give it up to the dude. Rest in peace.
So, all right. And we will end it with one of my favorite jams, and that is LTD with Every Time I Turn Around, Back in Love Again. Ooh.
This was my personal theme song in college because I'll tell you. So I went to a predominantly white high school, and I remember, and so there weren't a lot of like black girls that I could date. My mom always used to say, "How come you don't date any black girls?" I'm like, "Mom, like 50% of the black women in our school lives down the hall from me." So, I'm pretty sure incest is pretty frowned upon. So she, she my sense of humor was really, you know, you know what I'm saying? She's like, I just wish you would like, I'll love anybody that you bring home, but I just would like it if you ended up with a black girl. I'm like, Mom, we're all black when the lights are out. But she didn't appreciate that as much back then.
Yeah, as she
But
should have.
but cut to I go to college in Long Island University when there's nothing but black women from Brooklyn and Roosevelt and the Bronx. And I have never looked at a white girl the same ever again since then. And every time I would see some lady walk past me that looked super fine, I just like was instantly smitten. So every time I turn around back in love, that was like my theme song, during my 4 years at Long Island University. Just every time I was like, ooh, damn, like, oof, like just like appreciating Black women for not just, the way that they looked, but just their style, their posture, the way that they would interact with people. Um, it was just like a sight to behold. And
Yeah.
every time so I was having crushes and stuff like every 2 weeks, crush on a new girl. So Back in Love Again was like that was my theme music.
Hmm.
Mixed
Yeah.
emotion. That's the way.
Yeah.
Excuse
Black
me, I'm
women.
human. Sometimes I just don't know. Every time I move, I lose. When I look, I'm in. And every time I turn around, back in love again. Because I didn't go on a lot of dates in college either. So that's another reason why it was.
Yeah. Well, I get it though. Black women, we fucking lit as shit. Like, I mean, like, we lit. Sorry.
Agreed.
Yes. And thank you for playing word song associations with the RB reps.
This is great.
Tell
Of
him what he's
course.
won. Um, yes. Well, Matthew, do you have any closing remarks? Anything you want to say to wrap things up,
Yes.
or about you, and or about all that shit? You just talk.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, Laura, to end things off. First and foremost, thank you again for having me on the show. Like I said, I'm a fan. I try to watch every episode. I get better about being on the live chat. Um, so for everybody that was watching, please follow me on my Instagram and follow me on TikTok, at Headphone Addict on Instagram, at Headphone Addict One on TikTok. I'm new to the content creation sort of space. So I started a series called Get Physical, which JR alluded to. It's just a short video series about my music collection because I feel that's important to express the importance of owning physical copies of things because you can listen to something on streaming service all day, all night, but as soon as they take it off streaming services, what you're going to do? So, I own what I have. There ain't nobody going to tell me I can't listen to All in All or I can't watch The Wiz whenever I feel like it, so I own my stuff. Like I have my copy.
Right.
So that's why it's important for me to talk about. So in the
Mhm.
series, it's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes at most, where I talk about a particular album, which is either in vinyl form or in CD form. I even talk about some VHS tapes, but a vinyl or a CD from my personal collection. I tell you the year it came out. I tell you the record company it dropped on, and I tell you where I purchased it. Um, and I have a personal anecdote for usually all of them, and then I have some sort of cliff notes or a story about the making of that record or that people should know about, or one or the other. But it's really important for people to understand that owning physical copies of things is more important now than it's ever been because, the internet isn't forever like we thought it was. you know you're I've had articles erased from websites that go down. I've seen Paramount delete or take down thousands of hours of videos. I've seen vice.com do the same thing. So it's important for us to document our stuff and archive it properly. At least I commend you for, like having all these Earth, Wind, Fire vinyls behind you and everything like that, because that is art. Like having a music collection is like having a museum in your house.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, even if you don't listen to the record, you can just look through. It's like, oh, that reminds me of this or that. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
so important, just historically and personally. So,
Yeah.
and then I have a series I started called Badge Talk, where I talk about my journey as a music journalist through the badges and laminates that I've collected over the last couple of years, and just tell stories about being on the red carpet for the Soul Train Awards or seeing Mr. Soul at the Tribeca Film Festival. And I have some coming up on some movie premieres and other red carpet things and traveling out of state for assignments. So I have that going on. So I have Badge Talk, I have Get Physical. I'm going to be hopefully returning to Get Off the Fence podcast. For now, it's just going to be they're short videos on my TikTok. And then I also take you to vinyl shops that I go visit to in Brooklyn and in some cases other states. I've been to Washington, D.C. I've been to Philadelphia to show you record shopping. So I'll continue with that as well. So and of course my Substack. So you can go to headphoneaddict.substack.com to read articles of mine. Right now, I'm repurposing an old piece that I did on my old blog about Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy album to talk about his resentment of the album. I'm going to be doing a piece on SZA and Doechii from Top Dog Entertainment.
Gotcha.
And I'll be talking about a podcast that I listen to called Faking Michael, which talks about how Sony and the Michael Jackson estate tried to um, fool the public by putting three fake songs on Michael Jackson's first posthumous album. And Faking Michael, which was created by Damian Shields, is a 13 episode podcast about how they basically hired an imposter to sing as if he was Michael Jackson and put it on a record along with songs that Michael Jackson did sing. And it's really intricate. I mean, Michael Jackson fans knew from jump that it wasn't him, but the length of research that's put into this is as far as undeniable proof, as much undeniable proof as you can possibly get without an
Mhm.
outright confession from the people, which is all but done in some cases there too. So be on the lookout for my thoughts on the Faking Michael podcast. Be on the lookout for my piece on SZA and Doechii. Be on the lookout for my piece on Kanye West. And just my series on TikTok and my series on Instagram. So I usually post them every 3 days, but I try to post something once a day, every day on my TikTok and my IG. So just Headphone Addict, or Headphone Addict One for TikTok. And if you want to donate, you can donate to my Cash App at $ Headphone Addict. You can become a paid subscriber on my Substack if you like. If you like my work and you want to see things grow, please do.
Indeed. You heard the man. So,
And I'm still working on my book. I have a book that's going to be coming out probably 2026 about neo soul. So in the history of neo soul. So I'm working on.
mm. You all right, John?
No, I was just like, thank you. So we can be
Oh,
done
thank
for
you.
once and for all. Yes,
I didn't
we
know.
can write this
I didn't
book and
know
we can
what
be
you
once and
said.
for all. I was like, please, I'm over it. But I know Matthew
Um,
do it right, so I'm good.
Yo, I mean, look, not to throw shade, but most people who talk about neo soul in a formal fashion, they leave a lot of stuff out.
And do.
Lot of stuff out. I mean, like in my research, a lot of TV specials that have done it, I was like, no, like there's a lot of omissions there.
Yeah.
Um, I want to shout out Dan Charnas, who wrote Dilla Time. He talks a lot about neo soul in that book, because Dilla is a bridge, is a bridge from the native
mhm,
tongues into the Soulquarians that
mhm,
helps launch neo soul. So I think that it's something that I wanted to talk about because that's like my formative music of real time. Because when I was a kid, like once I got to like 10, 11 years old, all I always listened to was old music. I wasn't listening to anything contemporary. So when I got to my teenage years, the first contemporary music that like was able to seek out was neo soul music. It was Erykah Badu and Maxwell and D'Angelo and those records, like that those are the records that really I gravitated to in real time. So I wanted to make sure that I documented the history of that, even though it's not going to be like this big, thick, giant book like Dan's book, but I think that it'll be a good like research thing for people who are looking to understand how neo soul, the origins of neo soul in terms of, you know, the godfathers of neo soul like Donald Byrd and Roy Ayers from America, the people, the acid jazz of Britain from people like Brand New Heavies
You
and
have it.
Day, and then the first neo soul artists of all time, in my opinion, which is Michelle and Diggy Cello.
Cello, yes, he is.
So, you
My
know,
girl.
um, so yeah, so that's gonna come out probably like 2026.
Yes. Well, I'm excited about all of that.
Hmm.
Okay. That'll keep me busy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
But,
trying to stay busy.
yeah. Well, again, we thank you, Matthew. We also thank all of our lovely, lovely, lovely cousins holding it down. Y'all been running these numbers up. The watch hours are up. The
Yes.
the average duration way up. So that's
Yes.
really dope. We appreciate y'all.
Yes, we
So
do.
y'all just stay and be ever wonderful and keep telling us folks about us, and we'll just catch y'all on the next catch that.
Peace.